Hello, everyone, and welcome to Module 3. For this module that covers 3 weeks, you will be participating in a discussion, selecting your group project partners, completing a digital badge, and writing a paper about your search for evidence to answer your PICO question. We will go over each of these in this video to help you as you navigate this module. So for this module, you will continue to develop your PICO. So be sure to use the same PICO that you used for your first paper when you generated your PICO question. It's not necessary to come up with a new clinical question or a PICO. Unless you've talked to one of us and you really feel like the original PICO you chose is not going to work, keep your same one because you've already done a lot of work and we don't want you to have to redo all of that work. So also along those lines, you've already written the introduction with your last paper. We've given you lots of feedback on that introduction, so please take a look at the feedback, incorporate it, and you can use that same introduction for this paper because the introduction was introducing your clinical question or problem. So use the same one. Again, you don't have to create a new one. And look at our feedback because there might be a few elements that need expanding upon or some adjustments to make. And once you take a look and incorporate it, you should be ready to go with the introduction.
Yes, and so as part of this module and for this assignment, we want to be sure that you understand what is the difference between internal and external evidence that you will be needing to seek out for this assignment. So evidence-based practice is based on both research and also clinical practice. So internal evidence is just that. It's evidence that you find internally within your workplace or your hospital unit or wherever you're working as a nurse. This is evidence that comes from things like initiatives such as quality improvement initiatives, outcomes management, or any other evidence-based practice implementation projects that are going on in your workplace setting. So some good sources to talk to find good internal evidence on your PICO question would be a nurse educator that can be in your unit or maybe a unit that is addressing something closer to what your PICO question is, nurse managers, clinical improvement specialists, all of those above, and any other person who's working on any quality improvement initiatives or projects in your setting. So those are some ideas for finding internal sources of evidence, which is very different from external evidence. So you should also be evaluating your own experience for internal evidence and asking experts in your work area. So this might include other nurses or doctors even who you could ask about their experience and knowledge with the subject. So we want you to find out what may already be happening in the clinical setting in practice in regard to your clinical question and your PICO question that is already going on in your workplace.
Yes, that's right. And one thing I'll add to that is we typically have a few students each semester who are not in clinical practice yet. You might have just graduated and you don't have a job, and that is perfectly fine. So what we recommend is that you make a phone call or send an email and just ask a nurse manager or a nurse educator that happens to be working in an area where your PICO would be of interest. If you don't get any answers, that's actually okay to say as well. So if you've taken made the effort, taken the time, and you really don't get an answer, that's okay. You can discuss, like Rebecca said, your own experiences and maybe ask nurses that you work with or that you went to school with what their experience is. So external evidence is evidence that is found in the literature. This would be from published studies and articles from researchers. So in exploring external evidence, think of this as, like I said, published sources outside your facility. So these would be formal literature, research studies that you'd find in databases such as PubMed and CINAHL, maybe Cochrane. Really be sure to use credible sources. We'll talk a lot about credible sources in this course. So this would mean peer-reviewed journal articles and studies. So no websites such as Wikipedia, blogs, any website that doesn't end in .gov or .edu is probably not going to be seen as credible. And as you write your paper, be sure to review the directions on the Word document that's found in this assignment itself. So I'm going to pull that up here real quick so we can take a look at it. And please give us feedback if you have any questions about the directions. To us, they are very clear, but let us know if they're not clear to you. So you'll see on this paper, you'll actually see you have the introduction, and it tells you what to include, which is, again, the introduction you've already used in the paper you already submitted last module. And then you'll have some background. Has the question evolved? Typically, you'll have a PICO question, and it will change a little bit based on what you find in the literature and based on maybe some of our feedback. So you'll also have this area where you discuss the internal and external sources of evidence. So we recommend, in line with scholarly writing, that you take out the actual number 1, number 2, number 3 type thing, but you are welcome to leave in the table if you want to. Sometimes that helps organize things a little better, or if you want to write it out more in narrative format, that's totally fine. But make sure you take a look at this. You've got your internal, you got your external evidence, and you kind of have some ideas on here. Again, what databases to use, what key terms did you use? So you always want to be aware of what words you use that help you find the studies you're looking for. And then just with each of these, describe what your experience was. So what was your experience looking for internal and external evidence? And then make sure you include number 7 here, not necessarily number 7 on there, but reflection. And imagine you're a unit manager, and what would you as a nurse leader do to help promote a culture of inquiry? So make sure you don't forget that last part. It's worth a few points, and we always hate to take off points. So make sure that you include that. That's a really important thing to include. It will get you thinking about how can you support others in searching for evidence.
Yes. And then for the discussion assignment, you will also want to share your own experiences with searching for internal and external evidence, and then also share your PICO question and maybe how it's changed or evolved over the course of your research. How have you had to refine your PICO question based on what you were or were not finding in the evidence? It is kind of an iterative, dynamic, and cyclical process. So you will be continually shaping your question as you're finding credible sources of evidence and sharing that and that process of what you went through to shape that question. And so be sure to also share some things that you've learned in the process along the way that could help your classmates in their own searches, such as keywords or databases like CINAHL or PubMed or AgeLine. Any of those databases are great for searching, but share your strategies with your peers so that they can also benefit from your search process. So you'll also be selecting in this module, you'll be preparing ahead for the end of the semester project and selecting your group project partners. So you won't be doing the project yet, but you'll just be selecting your partners for who you'd like to work with in this final end of the semester project during this module. And we would like you to have those group selections completed and submitted by June 20th. So be sure to look at the discussion for that and connect with each other in that discussion. And then you'll want to sign up for a group officially so that we know which groups you will be in. This will make it very, very organized and predictable who's going to be part of which group, and we can help you with that process. So we made this worth 5 points, which is not a lot of points, but hopefully it'll motivate you to self-select your group members instead of having us place you in groups randomly. We can certainly do that, but we know that students like to have some autonomy and decision about which groups they're going to be in prior. So we're giving you that opportunity before June 20th. So the 2 parts of this assignment are going to be, 1, to connect with those who have similar interests and a PICO question you're interested in, and 2, to sign up for a group. Both are required to earn the 5 points. If anyone is not in a group by June 20th, however, we will be putting you into groups randomly so that you will have plenty of time to start working with each other and collaborating.
Yeah, and just to add regarding the group project, just to be thinking ahead, we do recommend that you use one of the group members' PICO questions for the project. So most of the initial work will already be done. So it makes sense to use one of the group members' PICO projects. So as you share what you're interested in within that selected group member discussion, share what you're taking a look at, share what your findings are, get some students to have like minds. We'll let you have up to 4 members of a group. So 3 to 4 is pretty good. Any more than that, you wouldn't have enough to do individually. but 3 to 4 we are fine with. And again, just don't start a new PICO, make it work for you. We know you're all busy, so just keep that in mind. The last thing you'll do in this module is you will be completing what's called a digital badge. And some of those of you that have been in the program beyond this first semester, you will already be familiar with what a digital badge is. But for those of you who this is your first semester, a digital badge is an electronic representation of a skill set that you have attained and you can place in your resume. And this would be to communicate with your potential employers this extra achievement that you achieved. So you'll complete other badges and other courses, and we hope this experience helps you be more aware of what is happening in primary care and to just expand your skill set a little bit as well. And as a lot of you probably already know, primary care is where nursing is really going, starting now and in the future. So to be sure to read all the instructions for that. Let us know if you have any questions, and we are very happy to help.
Absolutely. So reach out to us this week early and let us know what questions you have. We're definitely here to help support you through this and help you get the best out of this module. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.